We did have some technical difficulties on our end. On IHOLDSHIFT, that's Panda. We've got Nepal to start things off, and already we're seeing Black come out, and he's got himself a Pharah to come to battle with.
Yeah, coming to battle with, and we saw some really good usage of this in the previous match, how much oppression this quad DPS is able to do against the standard composition that BTRG are running, which is the Zenyatta 3-3.
Things looking actually really interesting as AE will already have a barrage. Okay. And you saw a little bit of fluttering happening in front as, pardon me, as I'm joking a little bit, Rick was able to just use himself as a body shield to make sure nobody can get in front of that barrage, or Black really good trigger. AE off the back end of some good damage gameplay, able to swing the point in their favor off the bit.
I think BTRG are also choking about how fast that that barrage was also brought up online too.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, just Fenley again in the back line, just finding a lot of value. They're not even dealing with the Sombra, just not even translocating out, just finding more damage. Time and time again, BTRG just full on switching. You can see Garong able to go over to the more self-sustained with the Fade ability, able to get out of dodge if need be. BTRG around this core dive composition getting EMP'd.
Yeah, and that's 4 already EMP'd, but
Yeesh.
it's actually Ones who's able to find the first kill on Fen Lee, who has been facing some criticism in the past for his Sombra gameplay. Not there, though. That was actually a really well-found EMP. The damage was just not there to follow up. Coalescence not quite able to touch enough of that far in midair, so Black with another barrage will come forward. He'll let it rip, but there's a lot of healing this time around, and it looks like it will be BTRG sustaining through the damage this time, and this comes down to, can they find the kills? Is, again, 56% and still counting. And this comes down to who can find potentially this wrecking ball, as he's going to be a big nuisance. Has to find the hack. Does Sky Show will be able to do so. Sound Barrier also uses AE, was finding themselves some success in the kill feed for a time, and already up to 70%, still not completely flipped yet. Someone has to stay on this point for BTRG. There is just so much free percentage getting gained up at the moment, Panda.
And just a moment outside, about to get the control percentage, but all of Alter Ego's members are so mobile. They're able to make it back to this point. They might just stall even at 90%. Ben Lee is able to get the kill or get the elimination on Yang Yang, and now BTRG are just unable to just finalize any elimination to get the flip. Finally, Alter Ego are firing off on all cylinders. I'm gonna sound like a broken record through across all 3 of these series for you all here, but I mean, this is just well-coordinated play, and this is what you love to see. Black is a player that came from LGE, a team that is pretty well known in this region, and you can see already why this pickup means so much for Alter Ego, a team that made this run through trials to make this outing against Team BTRG, who are, well, they made some pretty good waves in last season. Now they have control. What are they going to do with it?
EMP to start things off, though, for Alter Ego. But again, it just not find the follow-up, really, as both Sombras will dive away. So now just 5-on-5 action. Coalescence being used for B612, and that'll be enough to find one wind. And again, now it just comes down to being the target prioritization. Alter Ego have themselves numbers at the moment, but can you finish these kills from BTRG? They are swinging the point, at least just narrowly so. One member from BTRG able to stall for a time, gets them to 50% on the capture. And all of a sudden, with the mech for Rick being taken away, this scrappy fight continues, and BTRG is by no stretch of the imagination out of this yet. They can still contest this and fight for more time, if not potentially the team fight win. It just comes down to finding some target prioritization, because everybody is all over the place, and no one's able to really find good target prioritization because of it. Aaron will pull out the Coalescence, but he's getting pushed away. Will fortunately fall onto that Mega Pack and throw out a damaged Biotic orb coming through, and still the points in contest. Finally, it gets flopped over to AE, but they still have to win a fight, and now the EMP will come through to help out.
And 99% here for Alter Ego. The EMP might be the final nail in the coffin here for Shrine. BTRG don't really have any other resource to dealing with it. Cloud just has a recall available, just finally getting taken care of. Didn't have the recall available, and just dealing with as this final scientist. I'm sorry, he's not a monkey. I know I don't want to make that mistake all the time everywhere. Alter Ego, though, they have been making a absolute statement here. You got to remember here, folks, this team did not get a single map win last season. Not a single map win, made it back through trials, are creating absolute waves against a team of Big Time Regal Gaming. You have to take a look at the team of Big Time Regal Gaming. If you're unfamiliar and you've only been following Chinese Contenders, allow me to give you a little bit of a dive through this. you know, all things considering is that Yang Yang, LemonKiwi, they come from Pacific Contenders. They are able to bring in a previous synergy at the same time between Cloud and Wands, able to get that synergy rolling with them, but they're mixing with a multi-regional roster. Some are Korean, some are Chinese, and you have to wonder, again, if those communication differences, that language barrier is going to come into effect.
Yeah. I'm still just baffled. I mean, again, those team fights were essentially lost by the team that was in control early, but they were able to just delay for so long. Maybe that's the downside of not having a Zarya with consistent damage output is, again, that seemed to be the struggle for both teams after the Pharah was switched off of, but now you see Black will come to battle with the Pharah once more. Looking for these shots in this little outer area as we go over to the village map set. Black, again, already up to 75%. Looking to put this into an early barrage, but he's got to be careful because he's going to have to put himself in direct line of fire when he does use it if it's inside this point. And all of a sudden, Cho gets taken down. Concussive blast from behind. Does not catch anybody unaware, though, the defense matrix is there, and BTRG says, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. And they will be able to clean things up and, again, keep the control in their passion.
Sorry, just a correction. Yang Yang comes from Pacific Contenders, while LemonKiwi comes from a team of Laboratory and Restart. So, previously from a team, like we were mentioning in our previous series, not used to exactly winning out as far as series and map wins are concerned, but they're making a better note here on Village against Alter Ego, who are still running this very squishy composition. It's hard to take this this point regardless as a Winston, but when you have a backline pick like that from Fenley, it's a good opening.
Good concussive blast as well from Black to separate some players as the point is being contested, but BTRG able to come back there to make sure it doesn't get completely turned in against their favor. And actually, they're able to deplete all the progress that was made by Alter Ego. Fenley with a hack, but again, the EMP only finds 3, and it didn't come down onto this big target, which was that Lucio of BTRG, but still looks like there's enough follow-up, at least on the front line, to clean things up. Alter Ego, who comes down to, do they have the target prioritization? The Transcendence is here for delay for BTRG. Sky Show, he does have a Graviton Surge, and we'll use it. Okay, will he be able to find any kills in the back end? Self-destruct sequence is also here, but it was surrounded by that Winston bubble, and Black will come through and say, all right, no more nonsense. We're going to get this point finally, but it does come at the cost of 70%.
And explosive manner at that, and now this is where BTRG might struggle. This is where Winston does very well, especially on this map, is when you do have control. You can control the pace and the tempo of the entire fight by controlling the high ground. Sky Show has had enough of that, pun intended to his phone, trying to put on a show in the sky, but those bullets, just having a direct dealing of that Pharah of Black has been devastating for BTRG thus far. All things considering, that flashbang has to be saved because Fenley has been a nuisance in the backline. Double duty Sky Show has upon him.
A very tall task.
They're both flanking him too.
Yeah, exactly. This is a nice little start, though, as we're able to find a D-Mic and an immediate elimination. How about that? Flashbang in the face, plus 1 more bullet out of the Peacekeeper kill. That's going to play nicely. Well, now BTRG, again, just trying to deal with the nuisance of that anti-air that they need to find. But, again, who's going to contest this for Alter Ego? You have to wait for the respawns, and all they have is a Winston and a D.Va to try to contest. And I don't even know if that's going to be enough. As you can see, again, this Pharmacy combo is trying to deal some damage, but there are a much more composed BTRG this time around. 95%, the rest of AE are here, but how do they break?
They have the Valkyrie to play on this fight with, and Fenley's are going to get this EMP. It's all about hitting 1 or 2 and finding value in it. 1 or 2 eliminations with this EMP is going to set the tempo back in Alter Ego's favor.
Well, into the breach we go once more, friends, as they're trying to find a way through, but J-Cho's already down. Fenley, again, is using the hack, but he doesn't find more than just LemonKiwi. So maybe some of those previous criticisms are coming into play potentially here, as Fenley has been not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but again, there's been very little follow-up on the EMP so far. That one, in fact, not hitting as many targets as you would have liked to have seen, so we will be drawn up 1-1.
Well, it only hit 1, so let's say it's definitely not as many people as you want to be hitting with an EMP.
Not really, no.
And it only hit LemonKiwi. It shuts down wall riding and the auras from Lucio. Just not enough, though. I mean, already in control of the point. That's exactly where, you know, the entire team of BTRG wanted to be anyway. Big time Regal Gaming. Sticking true to their guns, playing this tank-heavy, or their tank-heavy compositions, and really finding success, and then flexing accordingly. They're rolling out on these tank compositions and then flexing to deal with Alter Ego accordingly. Did not expect to see Sky Show coming out there on the McCree, but I know that every team in Chinese Contenders has at least one member on their team that'll flex over to that McCree, and I'm always expecting to see it. Alter Ego now on this variation of triple support. They're going to have Fenley on this Sombra yet again with Rick and Jay on the dive.
This has been a wild match so far. Both teams essentially just having no holds. Just dive on in. Make your presence felt early, friends. And as we go to Sanctum, that, again, you talk about that giant pit over to what was now the left-hand side of this point could come into play. LemonKiwi able to find the first elimination on Jay Chow. Sky Show in a bit of trouble, though, as well, as BTRG are trying to finish this capture on the point early, but they will be depleted pretty quickly, as LemonKiwi's the only player here. EMP very early, and Fenley again. Actually, is some able to find 4, but where's the follow-up, Panda? It's just not here. Somehow BTRG are able to turn things back aside. Where was the dive from Jaycho? Oh, right, he was dead. Who's going to follow up on that for Fenley? There's no Zarya there. And again, there's just not enough damage, so BTRG will just bide their time and come back in as a full 6, and they'll win the point out.
Yeah, if you were wondering where all the health pools of BTRG... Oh, you got to cap that. There you go. Nice. BTRG lost a lot of health early on because Fenley was just in the back line, just farming in between D.Va, Zarya, and the Zenyatta. BTRG respectively. Alter Ego didn't have the follow-up, like you said. They didn't have the tanks to dive in on those squishier targets, and the way that BTRG ended up disengaging while they were EMP'd was very wonderful. The EMP didn't end up finding LemonKiwi, I do believe, so they were able to move so speedily. Graviton Surge very early on here from Sky Show.
First Graviton Surge of the match so far for Zarya coming in. Sky Show has very high charge as well, but the Transcendence was good for Alter Ego. Very, very close. Is May 19 to getting himself a sound barrier as well, which might be needed for Alter Ego to finalize this break as they're trying to come back into this capture point. Rick doing what he can to track things skyward. Will throw out a self-destruct sequence, but that doesn't find anything. As in the mix of things, the Primal Rage is in effect for Yang, but not quite able to find anybody yet. Now finally he will take down one. That's V612. And it looks like BTRG will hold on to this point. The full break doesn't come in. The sound barrier just a little bit too late from Alter Ego. Once again, an EMP was utilized and not able to find any conversion. You said that once, you said that twice. We'll probably say that again.
They're so close and always on the cusp of exploding out of these team fights, Alter Ego are, and then they just fall short. The EMP not finding enough value, and there's never enough follow-up to deal with the amount of energy that Sky Show has been playing with. I'm more than confident saying that Sky Show has not been eliminated a single time this entire map. Has been able to hold on to this charge for the entire time. The entire disengage and re-engage that BTRG are showing are a well-composed team, and this is what we were expecting. Solo grab, good call.
Where are you going? I mean, you saw him jump overhead of Sky Show. He says, all right, I mean, why are you running? Transcendence able to push things back forward for BTRG. They've got the numbers, and they've got the support ultimates to tote. It just comes down to, can they find the eliminations? Fortunately for Alter Ego, they're able to stop the bleeding for a small moment as they are able to get back out, soft reset back through, wait for the respawn, and come back in and try to re-engage this. But again, it's already at 99%, and BTRG have already found May 9. Now it just comes down to finding the last couple of kills, potentially Transcendence in desperate fashion, trying to move on in is Alter Ego. And again, there's just no damage being confirmed, and maybe that's the biggest weakness of not having a Zarya until now, as Fenley did make the swap, will put himself into a Graviton Surge, and wouldn't you know it, Panda? You start to play Zarya, you get a Graviton Surge down, you're at full charge, and look what happens. Alter Ego gets some kills, and it looks like they have actually turned this tide in their favor.
I'd say it's kind of like Caveman inventing the wheel for the first time. You're just like, what? Insanity. But you know, all things considering, Alter Ego, the way that they were playing out that composition prior to playing triple tank, triple support was coordinated very well. It just comes down to the way that BTRG are controlling the tempo is all around the support that all tanks that they have. And this is a very interesting swap here. Yang is on Reinhardt now. Jay Chow has Primal Rage, so don't expect the footing here for Yang to be stellar.
And already a wrong, actually very low. Will catch an armor pack. He was about one shot away from meeting his maker. Fenley, though, will posture himself a little bit beyond the point, just trying to rain down some hellfire from beyond. A little bit out of range, though, for the ally bubble. We'll finally get it down to Jaycho, who was looking for it, I think, a little bit earlier than he got it. But regardless, he is able to stay alive. Graviton Surge will actually be able to connect, but there's a Transcendence here, but it's not enough to keep LemonKiwi alive. Can anyone else be taken down? You can see the Reinhardt trying to move forward, and Yang He's almost close to an Earth Shatter. The self-destruct sequence too far overhead. We've seen that a couple of different times here from one so far. Skyshow able to take down Black, though. So again, we're looking at 5-on-5. Respawn coming in first, though, for BTRG. So they'll have the advantage. The sound barrier comes in as you see it. And now it just comes down to, can you clean up anybody else on point? J-Chow, as you see him, is in the Primal Rage. And it looks like there's not going to be enough kills on the table for Alter Ego to pull this one completely out. They are still in control of the point, but BTRG off the Respawn have taken down all of the front line. And Skyshow with that Graviton Surge was able to secure things, and this might just be it. It just comes down to how long can these supports stagger for AE.
A couple supports versus a couple tanks is still going to be stall-worthy enough. Alter Ego are getting all members back on the point, but B612 is going to end up faltering. J-Chow back on the hamster, gets the knockoff of Skyshow. That's a lot of damage out of the way. Arong's Transcendence is absolutely useless at that point. Now the Graviton Surge comes out for Fenley.
It does pick up 3, and LemonKiwi will drop immediately. Also very low
99.99
was Cloud. 99 to 99, like you mentioned. Self-destruct sequence doesn't find anything once again. A very scattered fight happening, but the numbers do favor that of BTRG as they're looking to finish this up. But where is the target prioritization? Everybody is looking at a different target, and now with the Transcendence coming through for B612 and the desperate swap for J-Chow onto the Wrecking Ball, they have an opportunity, but Fenley gets spooked off the edge, and he was their one source of damage. And that might just be it as far as them being able to sustain this contest, as you're seeing more eliminations coming through for LemonKiwi, that time onto Rick, and BTRG will finalize. But Panda, we have to talk about this. So when we see a Sombra come out in a 3-3 composition, typically it's in place of a Diva, because again, you need that support and that damage that Zarya brings. Sure. This time for both teams, it was actually the Zarya that was subbed out for the Sombras until late in that set.
Well, the reason being as well is because Dive is a little bit better on Shrine, or on Sanctum rather. That's why I was more or less really, I guess, highlighting why I was confused to see Yang on Reinhardt. But out through the entirety of that set, you're not wrong. Very interesting to see the Winston Diva instead of the Reinhardt and Zarya. Because Zarya and Reinhardt are just so strong, especially on the patch that we are currently playing on. You have to... Yeah. You have to consider that it's more of a comfort than it is anything. That's the style that both these teams are willing to play, because a lot of DPS were ended up being flexed around with once we got over to Village, and that's where things got a little bit spicier. We saw it early in our first match of the day. I can only imagine that it'll probably unfold as we end up going throughout all of our maps, Assault, Hybrid, and Escort, get a little bit more crazy rather than the Paul and most control maps because of its close fight nature of the King of the Hill mode. But you know, it's one thing, to always talk about the target prioritization for Alter Ego, but I think you could be more direct with it too. And those Discord orbs that are coming out from B612, although stellar, and they're coming through with a lot of damage from Orbis' destruction, personally, and getting a lot of ult charge, it's not value to the team. And not everybody's chasing that proverbial purple orb that we know and love the game of 3-3 to be. And it's not that BTRG are just playing super well. They're actually being incredibly punishable. They're playing very cheeky. It's just that Alter Ego, the way that they're playing, are almost very superhero-esque, that they're all trying to go for those superhero plays. That's why we saw Fenley, when swapped over to the Zarya, just throwing the Graviton Surge in there. Almost got eaten up, and the defense matrix wasn't down, but you know, it's just one thing that Alter Ego need to be prepared for. BTRG are going to play as a team in a unit, while Alter Ego are playing for that solo nature.
Indeed, indeed. But we will throw things over to a quick break. When we come back, we'll see if BTRG can continue to find some more successes. They are up 1-0. Join us then, won't you? Just after this. Hello, everybody, welcome back. We have got Blizzard World on T for you. I love Blizzard World. If only this was a real place, Panda, I would be there. I won't say every day of the week because then I'd have to be a season pass
You'd be there every day of the week.
I'd be there every day of the week.
I would catch him in the concession stands all the time. I'd be taking the rides. Honestly.
Corn dogs, dude. Corn dogs all day.
Yeah, you would. You would, honestly. I'd be wondering what's going on with those pylons that's floating around the sky. Are they actually mining anything? Does the siege tank have its full upgrades yet? These are the hard questions I'd be willing to ask the owners of this theme park. One questions that we are definitely getting answers to are the flexibility compositions that Blizzard World definitely bring out in most teams here in Chinese Contenders. BTRG are definitely flexing around that solo tank. Solo support lifestyle. LemonKiwi has a lot of healing to do, a lot of damage to be boosted as well with Cloud in the sky on Pharah.
And my biggest question for Alter Ego is how are you going to respond to this? And the answer seems to be there is no response for this. As Fenley already drops, Rick is already out of mech, and BTRG are just having their way with this Alter Ego defense. And again, you know, if you are a new viewer to Chinese Contenders, you're looking at these comps and saying, what in the world? This is different. And that typically is the case, but the biggest thing with Chinese Contenders is there's always a reason for it, and defensively this might seem like a very squishy lineup, but it is very versatile. But unfortunately there's just no response for Cloud at the moment, and he's having his way in the skies. And now this, again, with this extra damage is going to mean that there will be extra target prioritization felt immediately. AE will come in off of the respawns, and BTRG will give a little bit of a salute. They will actually use the EMP plus the barrage. That's enough for Fenley once again, plus Rick's mech. It just comes down to will the target prioritization be able to take care of the rest of the squishy targets on the point. There's already 2 ticks of progress here. The Transcendence is merely a delay tactic as they aren't actually able to find Yang Yang. So as I say it, BTRG all of a sudden have no tank presence, and they won't be able to fully contest the point.
Yeah, the Transcendence was actually clutch there from B612, able to recognize that opportunity to recontest with the team. 71.5% accrued, and an EMP and barrage combination gone. B612, for those of you that don't know, former Shanghai Dragons player, used to go by the handle of Free Feel. And that veteranship really coming through in a clutch there. You see that opportunity does not come around all too often. Those Transcendences end up getting held, but BTRG just swapping over to the Zarya, so now on par, if not already beating Wands. Now on this Zarya roll as BTRG go for the full swap. 1 minute, 40 seconds left on this triple tank lineup to take 1 tick and unlock the cart.
Fenley! He puts out a nice pulse bomb, but it doesn't quite find the target he wanted. He was a nice little slippery maneuver as he triple blinked and then used the recall. Has 1 player low. We'll get some assistance from that aforementioned B612. This comes down to, can they finish up the rest of these targets in front of them? With no Zenyatta here, though, you get to feel like BTRG's kill potential is extremely limited. They're not fully backing up, though. Again, just holding their ground for the moment, essentially saying, if Alter Ego wants to push into us, we'll contest you. But it comes down to, there's just not enough sustain, as LemonKiwi gets taken down Yang Yang immediately afterwards, and Alter Ego, they will sustain this defense once again.
And this is one thing that we are continuously noticing. Alter Ego, they have triple support, yay, but the one variation is they didn't bring the Zarya and Reinhardt to the table. They're playing a core dive tank style with Rick and Jay Chow on Winston Diva, respectively. Dropping the Zarya for Fenley on the Tracer and finding value, finding backline value at that. Getting the shield bash out from Cloud and then just being a proverbial pulse bomb thorn in the side. Though not finding any eliminations, it's still damage done. You take out that armor pack, you take out that burst healing from BTRG, and then the dive comes through from J-Chow. It's exactly what the hamster's supposed to do in that regard. You just disrupt, you displace, and you absolutely cause chaos inside the rankings of this overhauled deathwall composition that is triple tank.
Fenley able to put down a pulse bomb. We'll find some damage this time, but not enough to confirm for an elimination. He's doing a really good job of avoiding Cloud wherever possible.
Big
but now Inertia
slam
comes through, and that's going to be enough to take down 2. The sound barrier just a touch late. There is the Primal Rage. At least it fades away for a small moment for J-Chow, and that will likely be at a full wipe for the side of BTRG. And in overtime, with a little bit of extra flair and BM and spraying going on afterwards, BTRG will be able to secure the point and give themselves another 2.5 minutes to play.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes to push it. One of the longest Streets phases in Hybrid. It's very difficult regardless. Alter Ego are recognizing that this is the reset time. And this is almost when you go for that proverbial economic push. You know BTRG, they have the resource, the ultimate economy, if you will. Alter Ego, they need to take those ultimates away. Even if they have to use the self-destruct to get on par with the bigger bang combo, Taking the fight earlier rather than later would be the call, so that way they get more than one contest. They're just trying to see how they are going to take this fight, while Juan's just trying to read the situation for a Graviton Surge.
He had himself a nice angle, but everybody from Alter Ego wanted the left-hand side, and this is exactly what you don't want for Alter Ego. They get picked off the back, does X-Black, and the Graviton Surge comes through for the self-destruct combo, and I wonder if there's not a little bit too much of an investment there, as the Earthshader also came down in the last 3 members, but regardless, BTRG will find themselves some smooth sailing as their second checkpoint is directly in front of them.
I think BTRG, we're still looking for that combo regardless of all 3 tank ultimates, but you're not wrong. Definitely an overinvestment. Good right click coming through with the sound wave, win-win Q to displace, finding the follow-up during that Graviton Surge with the bigger bang combo. Re-entry though, Alter Ego using ultimates.
And BTRG, though, does have that sound barrier, which was used off the rip with the rally. So a lot of healthy targets in front of a nice little shield bash, plus a whip shot to take down May 9. And one more flail as well. Cloud having himself a left-click fest here at the moment. He's able to chew through a number of targets, and the second stage will be completed in very quick time. You mentioned it's one of the longer stages in the hybrid modes, but no problem whatsoever for BTRG.
Yeah, but even a snowball, if it has enough inertia, will pick up a lot of speed, even if it's given a little bit of an oomph. And that's exactly what BTRG are doing. And they're able to use this ultimate economy that they started off after capitalizing that point, turn that 2 minutes and 30 seconds into a very composed snowball that they're just shoving all the way through. Juan's got another Graviton Surge, lapping Fenley's charge, while Alter Ego are just trying to shovel in here and just try to get an early contest, if not resources out, and eliminations themselves.
Ones will start things off, and they've already found 2. The Transcendence, again, just a touch late from Alter Ego. Definitely a feels bad man for B612, as he saw an opportunity to really make a difference, but again, just a touch late, and oh my goodness, Ones is so toxic. Are you kidding me?
He wants it to be known. He just wants it to be known, too. You know, it's one thing that we have to highlight here, or for Wands in particular, he also came from Laboratory and Restart, so this has to be a really good feeling, especially going against Alter Ego. You know, winning is something that is going to feel really good and looking good along the way, especially on the Zarya. It's been a spectacle to see.
Transcendence used for BTRG as the full combo does come down for Alter Ego. Does not find any successes. They've used a lot. They've actually stacked a lot on top of each other, and Han is able to find himself 2 off the self-destruct sequence. So now with time ticking down, BTRG do have win condition in front of them for the map at least, as they will push it all the way through to completion in regulation. No extra frames needed here. BTRG find themselves some smooth sailing all the way through that map, and again, it just seems like Alter Ego not quite on the same page as far as what they want to use and when. Even though there were a couple moments where BTRG maybe have overinvested, Alter Ego have just essentially stacked up support ultimates and not really been able to convert full openings as far as when they want to take team fights.
Very interesting moments throughout that entire series. The catalyst of what started that obviously was the payload unlocking, but what mostly caused the snowball was the reset of ultimate economy for Alter Ego on defense. Once Fenley was unable to gain footing in a fight, and those economic pushes ended up turning into capture points achieved for BTRG, is when the entire team of Alter Ego just really struggled, even on third. All those ultimates were still getting cycled time and time again just because of how much charge the entire team, including Wands especially, was able to hold. And that particle beam for Zarya, just to really just layer in the damage to the entire tank line of Alter Ego, just never really gave them the opportunity to find any sort of ultimate charge. And when you don't have that ultimate charge to even try to fight back with, you don't have a offsetting support ultimate like a Transcendence to try to take a very aggressive push on defense, is where you really fall short. So Alter Ego, they almost had that full hold on, or
very
not
close.
Even full hold. It was like 71.5%, but it was almost there. They were doing a really good job, but then it came down to that 3-3 versus 3-3 lifestyle that we saw, and that's just BTRG coming out on top.
Looking like they have the upper hand in that instance, but it looks like we are ready to go as we do switch sides. Alter Ego will give their offense a go again. BTRG just need to have one good hold on one of the stages here on Blizzard World, and they will put themselves up 2-0. You can already hear and see the compositions at hand. Again, a lot of diversity. We're seeing a little bit of everything being played so far between both these teams.
Again, not with the Zarya, triple support. Han on the Sombra, though, so Alter Ego gonna have to be careful. More importantly, Fenley having the Sombra and J-Chow on the Hamster at that. Gonna have their hands full. You see, Han already. Oh, Mercy.
What a play! Able to find the Mercy, and then he translocates over the top to get the hack onto X-Black. Says, this pharmacy combo that you thought would go well will run into some obstacles. Rick has also swapped over away from the Diva for the first time so far. He'll be playing on the Hanzo in the double sniper life setup for Alter Ego. Also meeting a similar match as the Pharmacy did. They both fall pretty quickly as BTRG gets a sniff out of where they were, and easy cleanup from there for BTRG. They're looking like they're setting themselves up for a pretty solid defense.
Whoa, you be careful there. Don't forget to look down.
Greedy.
Yeah, a little greedy there. And one thing that BTRG are going to be able to do well with the dive tanks for the defense, you'll be able to seclude one sniper while the lockdown comes through via hack from Han. They're just able to taste Arong's Discord Orb, and those targets get absolutely obliterated. Keep in mind, there's only one tank. Han already throws up the EMP.
Just to get the Pharmacy combo, but again, we say just, but now it's a 6-on-4 with squishy targets in front of you and no reses. And yep, that's about what unfolds more often than not. Full wipe coming out of the back end, and Alter Ego off the back end of just playing the solo Wrecking Ball have not found much success yet, and Han again just being such a nuisance. How do you deal with this? The answer apparently is you just don't.
Yeah, it's very difficult, especially you almost need your own form of CC. You need to bring your own Brigitte, you need to bring your own Kree. And just to deal with Han just finding a lot of value. 40% charge over to this next EMP. Alter Ego are about to have all 6 ultimates starting this fight with Infrared Sight and Valkyrie.
Will be a little bit of a trade. Also some progress being made on the point as X-Blacks will be flying overhead of this Primal Rage. But again, look how spread apart both of these teams are. It just comes down to who will find the target position first. Looks like Alter Ego will have that in mind. Dragon Strike with a little bit of a wave coming through as well to try to split things a little bit more up in chaos. Transcendence though able to respond for BTRG, and they are still very much so in this defensive fight as they're able to track down May 9, and the Wrecking Ball will be saved for last as they're able to find nice target prioritization under the Hanzo, and BTRG will sustain, only giving up 1 tick of progress.
I think one of the biggest things you need to recognize as Alter Ego is that it's not just the Sombra that's dealing with a lot, or that's putting a lot of pressure on your team, but it's actually Arong, unable to get to that backline, unable to deal with the Zenyatta and take the target focus away. It's going to be hard to even do and to even try to take away from BTRG as they're just playing so well. The positioning coming through all of the supports, all of the members of BTRG are absolutely sellers. Alter Ego take their own swaps, their own triples, their own double support actually. As you saw B612 on the Sombra, light heals for Alter Ego going into this fight.
Dives on in with a translocate, able to find an EMP onto 5.
Nice.
But it wasn't before it. B612 was able to get one of his own, but it doesn't make a difference. The combo was already in play for BTRG. You see the self-destruct sequence, able to find 2 plus a mech. A really good chance there for the BTRG defense to set themselves up, and they convert very nicely to the back end of a couple of ultimates. Again, now just 23 seconds left.
20 seconds left, Alter Ego. Cycle the EMP. B612 goes over to Zenyatta. X-Black was at 50%. He was previously on Zenyatta. And now they complete the triple tank, triple support puzzle. And now they have to reset their entire ultimate economy. They're going in with absolutely nothing. BTRG will have ultimate economy in this fight. A Primal Rage will seal the deal.
There's also a Transcendence that's very close to being charged for Arong. Fenley, can he get himself to full charge and potentially find that Zenyatta before he can get it online? Yang, when does that Primal Rage come into play? You can see he's waiting for it. We'll jump on in. Not even needed yet. He's still very healthy, but it comes at a cost, and now the Transcendence is used preemptively. Nobody was really all that dangerously low, so if you're Alter Ego and you can sustain through this push, you might have a chance, but maybe a little bit too much wishful thinking there as they do lose both supports, and Alter Ego's hopes of finding anything on this first point will surely be dashed away, and if it wasn't before, it will be on the back end of a good EMP to clean up the rest of this fight. Just down to the Winston. He is able to get the Primal Rage, but he jumps just a little bit too far off the point. BTRG will close out Blizzard World with essentially a full hold on the first stage. They will find themselves up 2-0.
A fantastic ult economy going along the way. And you can almost, I already feel in the back part of my bones, in case you wanted to know, Shift, what they could do better in that regards, as far as Alter Ego is concerned, it's utilize ultimate economy. They're outplaying themselves as far as that is concerned. It's a major resource in the macro play that is Overwatch, in that long chess game that is Overwatch. You have to be careful with what pieces you bring to play. If you're not finding value and we're getting down to a minute and X-Black, your DPS player, is on Zenyatta and you're still going in to cycle out EMP and you don't find value, that's a good round go next, man. I mean, that's very unfortunate. Alter Ego, same thing for their defense with the way that they reset their entire ultimate economy, but never finding much value. getting completely lapped was Fenley on that Zarya by Wands for BTRG. And it just seems to be that when BTRG are playing 3 supports in any lineup, whether it is dive tanks, whether it is triple tank, whether it is Rien Zarya or the Sombra, it seems to be very difficult for Alter Ego to combat it against. And that's not just from hero selection alone. That's also once the abilities come through.
Yeah, it seems almost like a question and answer session, but with nothing but questions and a very limited amount of answers so far for Alter Ego. But again, they still have a chance to possibly come on back, and if there were ever a map type to do it, it could potentially be on Assault. That's what we have queued up for you guys next. When we come back, we'll have map 3. Don't go anywhere. Well, everybody, welcome. We've got Volskaya Industries queued up for you for map number 3. Panda, are you hearing this music playing between every round, by the way? Because this stream seems to always have the hot bangers dropping in, but we've got ourselves quite the banger online at BTRG. Doing well so far, up 2-0, as they will be heading over to Volskaya to try to make this potential 3-0 and close out the set.
These songs slap, these games bang, and definitely living up to the nature of Control Chaos, Chinese Contenders, again here on Volskaya Industries. This is an escort, man. All Assault, regardless of the map, is where some crazy compositions can be played out. The scout comes through, however, from BTRG. Very well composed team thus far throughout the series. 2 up in the thus far. Just gonna get the scout out, see what they're up against. Hit that tab key. They see Fenley's on that Sombra, so they just go run goats instead.
Indeed they do, and that's a pretty decent response as well.
Indeed.
Of course, the Winston does not have as much power when running up against as many shields as you will be seeing, so we'll see exactly how Alter Ego are able to handle running up to the traditional 3-3 composition that we all know, and maybe some of us love, some of us hate, but at least for here, it doesn't make a difference what your opinion on it is. It is happening, and we'll see exactly the strengths of it. As actually, look at this, B612 able to find the opening kill onto Eren, and as it was already BTRG diving onto the point from the high ground, this actually puts them in a very vulnerable spot as Fenley is able to get some free hacks off, and you can see who's already able to find one before, looking for the trade away on more as they will jump on in, trying to catch the Lucio, but he's too slippery and too fast. But again, that opening pick from Alter Ego was able to set themselves up for a very easy defense.
Yeah, the advantage on paper, of course, would go to BTRG's composition, but you need charge on your Zarya to do so. So that way, when the dive comes through from Jchow, you can punish it, but you also need your Zenyatta there. So heads up play from B612, finding that early elimination onto Arong. Gonna have an early Transcendence for that worth. Transcendence or the EMP rather, is about to be ready from Fenley, and BTRG, they're playing in a giant group. They're clotted together, and they need to be aware of this.
Yeah, and Fenley's got a big opportunity here on what this rotation will look like for BTRG to hit most, if not everybody. You can see BTRG is just essentially closeted themselves up in this little inner area. And there it is, EMP able to find 5, mini stun onto Wands. And now finally Alter Ego are able to finalize themselves, push on in, and do what they can to follow up on the EMP. That's a full team wipe for Alter Ego. No progress made yet on the point.
Yep, and a lot of time exhausted. We're down to 1 minute and 40. BTRG have taken swaps, specifically on Wands. 35% charge to that Primal Rage, just trying to find value in a dive to the backline. Gonna be very difficult to do so now. The counter dive is gonna come through from Rick and Jchow towards where Fenley is finding value in the hacks of the backline. Arong is probably going to get forced out to this Transcendence, and they need to find value in it. A early Transcendence wouldn't be a bad thing if Alter Ego lose 2 of their members because of it. BTRG are slow still to charge their bigger ultimates as well. We're reaching about 3 minutes here, Shift, and Han is only 25% shy to a Graviton Surge.
That's not what you want to see. Rally will be used opening things up for BTRG. They will fall down and put themselves on the point. Progress starting to be made. Will be touched for a small, but X-Black, you have to be careful. Will just be able to get out of dodge and get himself back to full HP. Transcendence able to be used for Alter Ego, trying to make their way back in. But again, what else can be found? Self-destruct into the inside, and LemonKiwi has got nowhere to go but down. And now finally, you talked about that charge of the Graviton Surge. It does come out with a combination of its own, and Ones will be able to cleave through with this Tesla cannon for 2, and now into the Primal Rage just to secure the last couple of players. But again, as he's in this Primal Rage form, he doesn't do the most damage in the world. He can push people around, and that's what you're seeing. But actually, was B612 found the Mega Pack and a Discord Orb plus some support, is able to turn around against Ones. Alter Ego all of a sudden with an opportunity to move on in, but now a big EMP will also come through. But is there damage to follow up for Alter Ego? They've lost their Winston, and they don't have, like we mentioned, a Zarya on the board. So who's going to be able to finish these kills? BTRG can essentially just sit on through this. They have frontliners and supports here to try to keep themselves in the fight for as long as possible. And they've got the Zarya near full charge, and that'll be enough damage to push everybody away. But it was a little bit too close for comfort there, Panda.
Jchow is going to have a very long spawn here. They're going to be without their main tank for quite some time. Rick just got the mech back. EMP that came through was absolutely massive. You asked for what follow-up? Well, I give you May 9, and a sound wave is going to be the follow-up here. So now, snowball attempt here. Han high charge. Has a Graviton Surge in the back pocket. BTRG look to complete the second point.
Then Rick is low. He's going to get out of back. This is now you took another. Oh. The Graviton Surge was only used on the Pilot Diva, though, but it doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. The power is just too much for that particle cannon, and Ones is going to zone out everybody else from the backline. 2 ticks of progress already made. X-Black taken down, the 3rd tick coming through. It just comes down to taking down this Wrecking Ball, which sometimes feels easier said than done, but a Shield Bash will make that increasingly more easy for BTRG. Transcendence comes out for the last 3 players left alive for Alter Ego. And now finally the EMP also from Fenley, but again, there's just no damage to follow up, and that's the biggest problem I have with this composition right now for Alter Ego, and that will be the point coming in. But again, a couple of scary moments for BTRG.
Yeah, fantastic sound wave coming through. These Lucios are being a big highlight for me too as your local support main. Let's not be forgetful that hold almost came through all the way on point A.
Very close.
All the way in overtime. And to get a time bank there, that's just, again, the powerful nature that is Assault. Able to create that snowball, pun intended, for the map of Sky Industries. And able to create something out of it too. Han took very long to charge the first Graviton. But that second Graviton, even though it only found value in the Pilot Diva, it still set the rest of the team up. And finding a lot more footing on the point. And Graviton starts shut out one of the more, I would probably say, popular routes coming out of the spawn when you're in that proverbial stall mentality. And it kind of forced everybody from Alter Ego into a more enclosed area to where Wands was able to find more value, though chasing off Sombra a lot. Was still able to find value in the Tickle Cannon, more or less, just cleaving through every single target that was in sight of Alter Ego. And then again, we are reminded, BTRG are not to be trifled with, especially when they have the resources available and they see an opportunity, they hit go. On that early fight back on point A, when we were stuck in that overtime fight, or that about to be overtime fight, when Q went down with the sound barrier, and that fight still went on because Han saw the opportunity with that Graviton Surge. It set up so many other things. It was an increasingly longer domino effect than I think even both these teams were looking for.
Or us would expect, I would say, to add on to that point, because that was a very elongated engagement. But we'll dive on in, switch the sides. Alter Ego now looking to set themselves up offensively, and they're coming out of the gate with, again, a little bit more uniqueness, as we'll see X-Black onto the Pharah, May 9 switching to the Mercy, and we'll get a Pharmacy combo to try to pick apart on BTRG, who, again, not have any really true counters to the Pharah. It's going to come down to trying to pick her out when she is low to the ground and maybe even diving in for Ligue, who, again, we haven't said much about yet, and he will actually be hacked first and foremost, the player on the Diva. Wrong has got himself a nice little barrage set up for Fenley, who was caught out of position with no translocate or any stealth. So now it's up to just BTRG to push on forward and keep this offense thwarted backwards. They'll also pick off May 9, so an extra staggered kill to help delay the time bank.
They don't have a direct counter for the Pharah, for sure. Like, I'm sure most of you would assume, like, well, why don't they pick up like a McCree or a Widowmaker or something? Though it is very popular for Sky point B or point A defense. You also have Eren, who's very applicable at hitting those orbs of destruction on floating targets in the air, such as the Mercy and the Pharah. A Discord orb, so that way Ligue can hop up there with boost and get damage done with the micro missiles and the primary fire as Diva. It does a lot. And you can tell the amount of damage that this composition brings to the table because B612 feels the need to stay on Moira, which is a lot of self-sustain throughout the entirety of the fight. And that's just the pressure that this dive defense of 3-3 brings to the table. BTRG are playing this composition wonderfully thus far.
Yes, sir, are. And you can actually see instances of Han just staying and soaking up all of the damage from X-Black. EMP will start things off once again for Alter Ego, but again, I mean, I would say color surprised, but I'm not. There's just no damage follow-up afterwards. In fact, BTRG are the ones that turn things around and get the first elimination. That's onto a big target of the Winston of J-Chow. So now all of a sudden with numbers, BTRG find themselves in a very powerful defensive position, and J-Chow will be brought back, but it's at the cost of not healing your Pharah, who will be taken down immediately. A nice whip shot to force J-Chow a little bit further into the back from Cloud. And again, it's just good defensive holds from BTRG. Fenley, you can't really discredit him because that was another good EMP, at least in theory, as it did find a number of players, but there is just no damage follow-up, and it is full-on cells on this composition for Alter Ego.
That was almost like a horror movie over there when he saw the Primal Rage come out, and we saw Han go for a wild ride over on the edge, and then the Primal Rage Winston came back. No elimination over there. J-Chow over to the Reinhardt. No progress gained thus far on point A. We are down to a minute 13, though the same happened for BTRG. Alter Ego look for the same effect. They're about to have another EMP from Fenley. They look to combo along with Rick's self-destruct, perhaps.
Oh, Rick is already taken, though. The Graviton Surge for Hanron taken down completely, but X-Black is the first one to fall. So it is still a 6-on-5 EMP. Nicely timed as the Transcendence was about to fade away for BTRG, but the sound barrier did escape it and does come through. So fully sustained through. Another nice play from Fenley, but not good enough. And BTRG, really good play from the support line that time around to keep them in the fight, even though Han had his Graviton Surge. Eden does not make a difference. BTRG again showing that doesn't matter how much adversity you throw their way, they're able to respond nicely, and once again the defense sustains.
Yeah, if anything, you know, Han was probably very thankful for that. He's already 80% to another Graviton Surge. You're able to start that charge to the third Graviton Surge very early on. Alter Ego just have no answers, so they go for another swap yet again. And you got to see right there, the defense have terrain to play around. Very cheeky play from Wands. Has the Primal Rage. He can go for the Super Dive and just hang out back here.
Yeah, Winston don't care. Yeah, Winston don't care. Shield charge me all you want. I'll still be able to pull out the Primal Rage, able to slap on through a number of players. And BTRG, now as overtime comes through, just comes down to fighting a couple of last players, which they will likely do pretty quickly, just up to finding this very slippery Lucio. He's not going to last for long enough to trigger the overtime. BTRG will go up 3-0, and even though that does technically win them the set, we'll still play all four because we love Overwatch here, and if it wasn't for maps, well, we would be cheating you out of an experience. So, BTRG up 3-0, looking very calm and collected now as the set continues to go on versus Alter Ego.
Well, this is the first week of matches, so even though you don't win the series, Alter Ego, you still have a chance to get a map win. And all maps will definitely come into consideration later on down the line when playoffs start to become more of a conversation. But with all things considered, that monkey 3-3 is absolutely, it's bananas, man. I mean, like the way that they were able to play that on defense, big time Regal Gaming are absolutely flexing on Alter Ego there. The way that they were able just to maneuver and just to play around, regardless of being hacked and EMP'd, they always had an answer, whether that was seclusion and desyncing the entire rankings of Alter Ego with a timely dive and the resources to keep that Winston in said dive, or just composed Zenyatta play coming through from Eren, shutting down EMPs with Transcendences, just counteracting. There was that 2 EMPs ago, I believe, that literally saw the Sombra come out of the translocator and then immediately EMP'd. That's exactly what you want to see from high levels Zenyatta play, and BTRG definitely have one in Eren.
I'm not gonna lie, you lost me after you said that it's bananas after you made the Winston play on words.
I just kept going,
absolutely man. Dead. We have to throw a break. I can't take this guy anymore. You see what I'm working with here, chat? I'm Shift, he's Panda. We've got a break coming up, map 4 right after that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. Hello everyone, welcome back. I hold shift, PkMnPanda. I have at least recollected myself after the intense play on words from my co-caster here. But trying to recollect themselves in the set is Alter Ego. Again, back in the third part of 2018's Chinese Contenders, not able to find a single map win. Desperately trying to flip the script this time around to start off the 2019. But Panda, so far, it's not looking so great here against BTRG.
It's going to be difficult, especially in the nature that is Watchpoint Gibraltar. It's a very Winston-heavy map, and where we've seen Alter Ego find a little bit more success is in their ground force nature with a Reinhardt-based composition. Winston has been, from J Chow, has been a little bit counter-dived to perfection, to the level that has been besieged upon us from Yang Yang. BTRG are just playing very well this map. They play into their favor. Alter Ego on their first attack, however, they're playing straight out. 3-3 across the board with the Winston.
It's a lot of poking and prodding and trying to follow up on low health pools at the moment as BTRG are still holding themselves onto the high ground. A very full charge Skyshow, who is just trading from target to target. Rick,
wow,
will be taking out a mech, and they're not going to quite finish off the Baby Diva yet. There we go. Finally, Yang Yang able to cleave on through with that Tesla cannon, and Alter Ego, just like that, all momentum on this payload has essentially completely stopped as far as what they're able to gain. So it will be BTRG holding on and finding themselves a lot of success early already in this composition mirror matchup.
Yeah, the entire health pool of Rick's mech just got absolutely obliterated. I mean, if there's one thing that BTRG Zarya player Skyshow has been playing very well at, is just getting charged and holding at that and just being able to farm this Graviton Surge, which they already have.
Now it just comes down to more poking and more toggling for positioning. Skyshow starting things off with the Graviton Surge. Will be able to take down one. Looking for more, though, would be nice. Rick very close to being demacked, and likely will. There it is. As the follow-up is coming through, Skyshow fully charged maximum power. That was not even close to a Russian accent. I'll never do that again. But BTRG will hope that they continue to find all the success that they have in their defense. They'll keep trying to do that every single day of the week.
You get an A for effort.
Do I? I don't know if I do.
You get one.
Okay. Everybody gets one.
BTRG, however, they get a handful more attacks at this. The cart is finally moving through this proverbial car wash area. This poking phase is definitely favoring BTRG, especially all things considering they have ultimate charge and ultimate economy to play around with. But it's more of just along, you can see on your screen right now, the rotations. You see how Alter Ego are just chasing them, forcing them just to use any sort of resource available. It favors the defense because the cart has to move.
But both support ultimates have been used so far, Panda, so Alter Ego are essentially on their last legs as far as how long this fight has taken. Meanwhile, Eren has got himself a Transcendence ready to go as soon as Yang Yang needs it, which as he fades away from the Primal Rage might be sooner rather than later. But again, BTRG just kind of flipped the tides and moved positioning over towards the server room, and they say, all right, well, we've got your payload in sight. Come and take it from us. B612 already taken down, so no more Discord Orb for Alter Ego, and now with that, Ben Lee will get his Graviton Surge eaten, and Yang Yang will say, gas pedal, go, go, go. He'll find two, looking for more. We'll also catch an allied bubble just for safety's sake. But again, BTRG, every single inch that Alter Ego has gained has been at the discretion of BTRG saying, we're allowing you to get this far so we can fight where we want to.
Yeah, and especially where that capture zone is, where you see Skyshow looking right now, favors the way that Winston 3-3 is supposed to be played, in a way that you seclude the backline of Alter Ego, and you just find value. Though B612 is finding Orbs of Destruction and a quick charge to this next Transcendence that they have available for the team, it may not just be enough, because BTRG, they've been winning fights just off of solo ultimates, and sometimes just vanilla Overwatch once they're done shutting down Alter Ego's ultimates. And BTRG are just absolutely manhandling Alter Ego on this last point. The rally even from X-Black might be too early as they're just hanging on the tarp area.
But they still have all that armor sustained. They're not going to give them all that movement speed boost. BTRG will counter from their own self-destruct sequence used. The Graviton Surge came through in a very awkward spot, which it will be sustained through no problem. It just comes down to who will find the first elimination. Rick will be taken down for his mech, so for all intents and purposes, we're looking at a 6-on-5 favoring BTRG, as that Pilot Diva will not be able to bring much to the equation. And everyone will actually be pushed away. Oh no!
Yep. That's exactly what I'm talking about, and that's just the nature of the way that entire match was played out. The entire time that Alter Ego was chasing for footing and spacing and advantage, especially for B612 on the Zenyatta, BTRG were just rotating around, just utilizing the terrain to their advantage, being where they always needed to be. utilizing not even movement capabilities, but just the natural aura of speed boost from Lucio. LemonKiwi just corralling all of the members of the team that needed to go up the staircase when need be. And then Juan's coming through, creating space on the dive. Was more or less a distraction while the rest of their team and BTRG was just aligning a lot of damage from afar. Besides the Zarya and D.Va, of course, just playing hybrid, going back and forth in between the Winston and the backline. It was very impressive stuff coming through, the way the BTRG were able to utilize the composition of Winston 3-3 to such a high degree.
And, you know, on top of that, to kind of reiterate on your point, with Alter Ego, obviously a team that's still essentially trying to get used to each other and learn the game at this level together. And in that instance, it felt like, okay, we are going to be sitting here and we're trying so hard to play as a full six-man front that we forgot the most important part of the game, which is the objective. They were fighting so far away from it, and they kept that fight going for so long. They forgot that, hey, we're the ones on offense, actually. We need to make sure we're also being mindful of the payload. So, again, early season things for Alter Ego. A lot of things to work on. We're not quite done yet, though. They still have a chance to potentially find a more secured full hold, but it's going to come at a very steep cost, as, again, BTRG have so much room to play with in these next 4 minutes.
67.99 meters, 68 meters exactly will give BTRG the Overwatch that we want them to get, but an interesting defensive composition versus an interesting attack. Very weird.
This is trench warfare at its finest. You set up your bastion, I'll set up my bastion, and we'll see who can break shields fastest. And Alter Ego will win that fight off the rip, but BTRG will just essentially reset and give it another try. Actually, scrap that. They said maybe not this composition. They want to try to find a way potentially.
No. We go back to this composition.
They're a little bit lost on what they want to do. Actually, we talked about the learning curve for Alter Ego. BTRG, again, not a team that has the most experience in the world, so they're obviously trying to figure out things together. Ult thrown out, but will not find connection, as Han will eat that up with defense matrix, and it's just fire strikes and bullets, all day long.
I just picture angry old men just arguing, just like, no, the Bastion will work. It will never work. It must work. I mean, Alter Ego, though, they definitely have the advantage. The Resurrection able to come through, shielding advantage, terrain advantage. That's where their Bastion will have that chance.
Coalescence.
But, yeah, you drop down like that, though, it's, yeah.
I mean, you just pick your poison as far as what's going to kill you. Either it's bullets, coalescence, or, you know, anything else that comes out of the fashion of BTRG. Hammers. Other Gatling gun types from Yang Yang's Orisa, and now that golden checkbox of victory so close. And AE are going to have to dive on in. The Valkyrie needs to be there. Tank configuration is out, but no one's able to touch in time. Yikes. But again, okay, before we talk, I mean, here's how I'm going to reference this. I'll be the guy that spits sunshines and rainbows. This is a very early season game for two teams that have shown weaknesses in the past, are dealing with a couple of new additions and some roster swaps from other teams that were, to be frank, in the lower end of Chinese contenders at the end of 2018. So, Coach Panda, take me through both teams, things you liked and things you might need to work on.
I think if you go back and you watch Control, the way that last map was played out didn't highlight what we got to see from both these teams. It was highlighted so wonderfully. I mean, you go take a look at some of the biggest exceptions throughout Alter Ego's lineup. More importantly, the way that X-Black was able to run the entire map and tempo from a FAR's point of view is very impressive. The way that this entire team was able to more or less play around their own personal goals and find value on Control, it works because that's where eliminations are supposed to be coming through. But when objectives are in play is where you're going to see teams kind of get not necessarily outplayed. That's not necessarily the phrase that's supposed to be that's correlated to this situation, but where teams that have more of this experience in playing these compositions and playing around this style in a tournament such as this is where you're going to see BTRG succeed. You have so many of these members just playing together and playing in this collegiate scene for quite some time, and they're going to be able to flex that gun all the way through, especially with that 3-3 lifestyle. Every time that they came through on triple tank or triple support, they were absolutely stellar. As you take a look at some of your highlights right here, that man on your screen causing that Graviton Surge Sky Show is the root of all evils from this team. BTRG are just absolutely built around the ability that Sky Show brings to the table, not only in creating a lot of Graviton Surge moments, but just utilizing the cooldown management, even using the projected barrier, using the personal barrier, holding that charge, and controlling the tempo of the fight. That's what BTRG did today, and Alter Ego just didn't have an answer.
They did not, but that's one that's going to have to be figured out sooner rather than later if they want to have a chance here in China's Contenders. We've seen a lot of really good things showcased so far, but hey, we're not done yet. That's just 2 sets of 3. Again, this was from the previous week as we're sitting here on Wednesday going into Thursday, I guess Thursday now. These games were from the previous weekend, but with some technical difficulties, we weren't able to bring out the coverage live. We will be back in live for all of the week 2 games coming up this weekend, at least we anticipate. So stick with us. We still have got one more set coming up to you guys, and that will include some, again, very feisty teams as Flag Gaming, kind of reformed and rebrought in from other teams from the past season of Chinese Contenders, will be going up against Team CC, the number 2 team from last season of 2018 Chinese Contenders. So got another good one lined up for you. Don't go anywhere. Panda's going to be back. I'll be back. Hopefully you'll be back as well just after this break.